It is prospect time in the NHL, and all 32 draft picks in the first round are the greatest draft picks that have ever hit your team. At least that is how everybody feels right now, as everyone is pumping the tires of the players that are about to enter the NHL. No matter what, there are going to be busts. There are going to be guys that are overdrafted, that are underdrafted, that are drafted just right. There are going to be players that are coming that you'll say you saw, and there'll be players coming that end up disappointing everybody, especially themselves and maybe their parents. No, their parents will still be proud of them regardless because they're good people. First off, when looking at prospects, for those of you that may not be aware, there are 4 critical skills to hockey and arguably 5. There's skating, stick handling, passing, and shooting, as well as physical or body contact. The foundation of skating is the most critical piece in hockey, if you haven't been aware. And yes, there are players that aren't great skaters, maybe technically or fundamentally, that make it work in the NHL, but we're dealing with averages here when we draft players, and you cannot do anything in the NHL if you are not a great skater. A guy like Leon Draisaitl may not be technically a great skater from a form factor, but he gets the job done as good, if not better than most in the NHL. He is the exception. We are dealing with averages when we are looking at drafting players. There will always be exceptions to the rule, but for the most part, the better you are on your edges and the better of a skater you are, the better of a hockey player you could be. Great skating then needs to follow into great stick handling. Feet, head, hands. It is that simple. You need to move your feet first in the NHL. Then you need to pick up your head as your feet are already moving. I don't care if your head is down, up, or whatever. You move your feet first. You never get caught flat-footed. Then you pick up your head, assess your surroundings while moving, and then you use your hands to make a play. And stick handling is a critical part to that. You're never going to be a good passer if you're not a good puck handler. You don't have to be Patrick Kane, but you got to be good. And then good passing leads to good shooting. Yes, there are players like Patrick Laine who are unbelievable at releasing a shot, but once again, exceptions. So we build from skating, stick handling, passing, shooting, and physicality as well. You can't be a good physical player unless you're a good skater. Where does hockey IQ add into that? You'll have to stick around to the end of the video for me to explain more. So numero uno, Matthew Schaefer, Canadian. September 5th, 2007, one of the youngest players to enter the draft. If he was actually 5 days younger, he'd be drafted next year. 6'2", 185 pounds. He's going to be a big boy. He's 17. By the time he is 22, I expect 205, possibly a 210-pound frame on that 6'2" height, and he may even stretch and get a little bit taller. Now, he is ranked as the number 1 player consensus across every board, every place you're looking, and it's for many good reasons, but it all starts with his skating. And it isn't just his ability to skate forwards and backwards, it's his ability to skate laterally. Take a look as he's coming in here. He is so calm and confident on those skates. When I'm taking a look at a play like this, I'm looking at the fact that his skates are nicely flat on the ground. He's in a nice, strong position, even though he's making a jump over a player. This tells me this isn't just an accident or a desperation play. He has full body control, and take a look at this. He's now on 1 foot. We call that your pillar of strength. You're always going to be more based on 1 foot than you are on 2. Yes, when you get into a hockey position or a hockey stance, you are on 2 legs, but you are always leaning your weight more to your left or to your right, and he has very good awareness. This allows him to get body centricity and center that center of mass for him, move it over, bang, it's in the back of the net, all because of his beautiful skating. He also has a sneaky and uncanny ability to take angles even when he's beat. Take a look at this play here. He's beat, reaches in. You know I don't like reaching. I don't like players being in this position. Take one more stride. Do not be that bent over. But it's the angle that he takes and his ability to take that puck away due to it. Bang, quick little transition out of the zone. And that's going to be skating that even when you're beat, you're not exactly beat. Most players would be walked around at that point, not Schaefer, and that will translate to the NHL level. And then here are the highlights you're going to see all over the place because he really hasn't played that many games this year. Here he is at the World Juniors, one of the youngest players to play in this tournament. Bang, that puck moves over. And see what I've said? His feet were moving before that puck ever got to him. That puck moves over, feet are already moving, feet, now he's using his head, he's assessing and evaluating his surroundings, and now it's time to start stick handling. Bang, dangle, 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 walk in 2 or 3 more times, but it isn't just the walk in, it's what he's able to do. So right now he is on his outside edge, as you can see here, and it's his ability to change directions effortlessly without losing speed. Right foot, outside edge. Inside edge on his left foot. So he was able to pivot and make that turn on his inside edge. Now he gets a nice wide base as he's carrying that puck through. And, you know, he's a good player, but you can see here, it's hard to tell if he's looking at the puck or if he's looking at the defender, looking at his stick. But a lot of people really rag on guys for saying, you know, you got to keep your head up. Most players, when they have the puck on the stick, are glancing down at the puck repeatedly, or they don't have their head up at all. It is very uncommon, even at the NHL level. It's hard to do. He comes in, he is able to assess his surroundings, create some gap, and it's a beautiful little backhand to get it on net. The other critical part, though, to being a defenseman is being a defenseman and playing defense. So there's a couple things we have to look at, especially when it comes to skating and what we call gap control. Remember this pink line here, that is your gap. That gap's a little too big, but he has time all the way until the red line to actually close that gap. We could say the blue line. I prefer the red line if it's an elite player, but here's the first thing I'm looking at. 1, are you pivoting towards the center of the ice? And he is. If he was pivoting the other way, that would tell me he is not confident on that other foot. You always want to pivot to the center of the ice because that is going to force your opponents here to go wide. If you pivot the wrong way, that allows your opponents to cut to the center ice, and you do not want them to ever cut to the center ice. So I really like the pivot that he has here. As he's pivoting, he now makes up for his gap control. And what I see as well is not a whole bunch of active crossovers. We do not want our defensemen crossing over multiple times. We want them to use big C cuts when they're using heavy crossovers. That becomes a problem at today's NHL. So now we've got good gap. The first thing we're looking for is what is called stick on puck, and we're about to get it right here. That is where your stick is able to go in, but now while your stick is going on the puck or stick on puck, you want to be watching the chest, and that is exactly what we see. We don't want to be looking at the eyes, we want to be looking at the chest, and that's what he's looking at, because the body only moves where the chest and the shoulders move, but the head can always head fake you. So he comes in, beautiful stick on puck, and because just like I said, he's watching the chest, he steps up and bang, absolutely buries him. He then uses that beautiful skating of his to pivot, quick little one hand, it's crossovers. I mean, he really is a man among boys in this league, and just like that, he's gone, and he's evasive as well too. Almost gets clipped, not even almost when it's Matthew Schaefer. You're going to see plenty more clips of this kid making beautiful passes and beautiful plays. He is the number 1 guy. I would draft him number 1 if I was the Islanders. Everybody would and should. But he's not necessarily a home run. He should be a top pairing defenseman. He should be an elite defenseman. It is possible he's a franchise defenseman. You're going to have to stay tuned to the end for me to explain more about that. This is a very comprehensive video. Next, we're going to move over here to Michael Misa, 6'1", 183 pounds, playing center. The desirable center role. Two-way centerman. That's what you're looking for in today's NHL. Yes, a number 1 defenseman is critical. I always cheer for the number 1 defenseman, but they are harder to draft than centermen. When you get a number 1 centerman into your system, they're not replaceable. Nobody trades number 1 centers. So when you have an opportunity to get one, you go get one. That's why it becomes controversial to take a D first overall, and we see it rarely happen, even with supreme talents. Schaefer is a supreme talent, but Michael Misa may be the best thing that ever falls to the San Jose Sharks if they gobble him up at number 2. Misa possesses east-west capability. He is a very good east-west player. He's a very good playmaker. He always finds himself on the right side of the puck, which is what I like. That is the side of the puck between your goaltender and the puck, and that's where he gets to now. He takes that extra stride that you need because he is a good skater to be able to lift pucks off players' sticks, and he is able to make plays because of that east-west capability. Bang, back of the net. He also has very good north-south speed when required, and this is perfection when it comes to a two-way centerman. You want to see him be able to pick up puck, beautiful high-skill play, be able to win that battle, get in front like he just did, and bang, put it in the back of the net. Now, here is what I like about Michael Misa. Not just the fact that he's a two-way player, He doesn't have a lot of holes in his game. He's a very smart player, but it's a very translatable game to the NHL. He keeps it simple. He knows when to play east-west. He knows when to play north-south. Many players don't. Tons of players in the NHL are east-west guys exclusively. More players than often are north-south guys, so you do need to find these east-west players. Typically, there is a European or Russian bias towards players that come in that are able to play east-west, but it is interesting to see a Canadian kid like this be able to do it at the level he does, especially because he grew up playing on the small rink. That's why Europeans and Russians have an easier time playing east-west, wider rink, more space, they get more used to it. This guy can do both, and that is very unique. He is projected to be a number 2 center, but we really can't project these guys into roles no matter what we do. I mean, he could be a number 1 center. He could be a number 2. They're saying number 2. I'm saying sky could be the limit. Floor could be there as well too. We never know. But I like the fact that if he goes to San Jose, Celebrini, undisputed number 1 guy, franchise player, you bring in a guy like this, we may have another Crosby-Malkin situation. Totally different types of players, but when you have that 1-2 punch that's so dynamic down the middle, that is very tough to beat. Sure, San Jose, it might hurt losing out on the top prospect because of the lottery and a number 1 player, but you know what? Sometimes you got to let the other guy make the choice first, and good things that you need fall into your lap, and Michael Misa could be that good thing. Could he make an argument to be number 1? Oh, maybe, but he really is a number 2. It doesn't mean he won't be better, though, than Schaefer. Think Owen Power and Matty Beniers. From there, we get down to Porter Martone. And Porter Martone is an absolute animal, absolute unit. It's funny that we go defenseman, centerman, power forward. The big question about him is he a playmaker? Is he a power forward? My argument is he's both, and he's going to be NHL ready very soon. That is because he is 6'3", 205 pounds, and he uses that frame to make plays. Big players suck players into them, and then they're able to dish. And it is rare that a power forward has hands as soft as Martone's. And it is rare that a player has hands as soft as Martone's. The other big thing that is important with him is that he finds ways to stay connected with line mates. He is a north-south player, but he plays at the same speed as his line mates. Line mates and NHL players that make the jump to the next level, they need to be able to play at multiple speeds. And the more speeds you can play at, the different combinations a coach has with you. If you have nothing but straight line speed, you have to find other fast players. If you're slow, you can still play fast. You just have to play with players at your speed. But if you have the ability to change speeds like Porter does, you can play with anybody. And here is a beautiful example of what I'm talking about with that speed. You can see he's playing down low. He's defensively responsible right now. And as soon as he sees a turnover, he's turned it into north-south. There was a puck in dispute, and we are off to the races. He is able to angle out his player, and now we're going to go 200 feet all the way down the ice. Bang, look at him pick up the speed. As he continues into the neutral zone, he's going to leave everybody behind. It's a quick change of speed. And what he does here by slowing down isn't just to allow his line mate here to catch up. It is to create gap between these two defensemen. And then he does my favorite thing in the NHL and why it translates. He carries a defender on his back. Guys who are able to use their body like this, think Joe Thornton, think Jaromir Jagr. These guys were so big. They had a backside so large. They could use all that cake, as the kids would say, use their shoulders, use their hips, use their butt, stick out their arms, create that gap, create that time and space, carry players on their back while they're able to make passes to their line mates. And that makes them hyper productive in the NHL. Bang, it's in the back of the net. So when big guys can use their space to their advantage, or when they get space taken away from them, they're still able to outcompete you. They become a big deal at the NHL level. Anton Frondell. He's going to draw a lot of eyes. 6'1", 205 pounds. The way this guy is able to make time and space for himself and his shot is what separates him. He's coming in at the position of center, but he could translate to winger in the NHL because of his ability to shoot. Centermen drive plays. They're aggressive. They need to be defensively responsible, but his prospect screams to me a player that could play center or wing, and that is valuable in today's NHL. The more positions you can play, the more valuable you are to a coach. He's an absolute unit of a man at 6'1", 205. He's only going to get bigger, at least heavier at the NHL level. And because he's coming from Sweden, he's used to that East-West game, but he's also used to getting more space. Once he comes to the NHL on the smaller ice, that space is going to collapse. It isn't his first time playing small ice. He's played international his entire life. He's been a big prospect for Sweden here, so he's used to playing both, but he hasn't exclusively played small ice. So it does take a minute to translate it into the NHL game. And you can see that here. We're on the big ice. He's going to go east-west. He's going to find his space that he needs to get open. He pushes over to the wall. He's got a big stride. I like his skating. I think it's just fine. And people always hate when I use the term just fine. He's a good skater. Okay, he's a good skater. I think it will translate to the NHL level is what I'm saying. It's not blowing the socks off anything, though. And then he moves from high to low. As his partner is moving that puck up to the point, Frondell's going to come down low, and he's going to use that skating and that big frame of his to come wide and get behind the goaltender. Plays like this, though, they can work and they don't work at the NHL level, because look at all this space that he has to fall behind defensemen. Bang, it's in the back of the net. Absolutely beautiful hands and a very high and smart hockey IQ. And here's that shot we talked about, that absolutely elite release. This is going to play on every power play, no matter what you do. He's a left-handed shot, gets low, bang, it's in the back of the net. He also has that ability to use that absolutely wild and big frame, pull the puck back, pull the puck forward, put it up. It's patience and it's timing. So Frondell comes in at number 4. I'm not sure if that's the order these guys are going to go at, because somebody may reach for the centerman over the winger. I like the rankings that I see right now. You know, Bob McKenzie isn't always right, but he's got Schaefer, he's got Misa, he's got Martone, he's got Frondell, and then he's got Caleb. And I think it falls off at Frondell. There's a lot of different places these guys can go, but I'm pretty confident that these 4 are going to be the 4, but we're going to have to wait and see Friday. Frondell could move into position 3. He might move into position 2, but I don't see why you would take him over a guy like Misa, who can play east-west, north-south. We just talked about all the reasons he's going to do it. I think these guys are going to be locked in as the top 4. We're going to have to see if I'm correct. So you remember I said at the beginning of the video, we would talk about hockey IQ. Well, you have talent, and you have hockey IQ, and you have hard work. You have 3 things you have to add into there. Scouts are always going to value talent above the other 2 pieces. Hockey IQ, it isn't set. It can be taught, especially if you talk to Martin St. Louis. It can be improved, and the more you're put into different positions, the more you can thrive. Talent can be improved as well too, but it improves less. You get more bang for your buck, in my opinion, when you take the St. Louis route and focus more on the IQ. These guys will improve their talent caps. I mean, it has to happen. You go from junior to the AHL to the NHL. Very few people walk in, dominate, and never get better. But the higher your talent gap is right now, the more talented you are today, especially as a skater, the better of a chance you have of playing at the highest level. And that's really all these scouts are doing. There's a lot more risk with taking defensemen high. They are harder to project. It is a much more difficult position to learn. It is heavily impactful for a team when you got guys like Josh Morrissey, Cale Makar, Drew Doughty. When you get defensemen like this into your system, it can change your fortunes as long as they are paired with a team that also has a number 1 center. It is almost impossible to win in the NHL without a number 1 and sometimes 2 number 1 centermen, but it is possible to scrape by with a subpar or okay decor. Every team is going to have a good defenseman, but you don't necessarily need to have Letang, Bouchard, Cale Makar in order to win a Stanley Cup. It's nice and it is very important, but is it as necessary as the center? That's the interesting argument that's going to be. All that to be said, Matthew Schaefer would be my number 1. He'd be everybody's number 1. There's no hot take there. He's going to have to learn one critical thing when he gets to the NHL, and that is that he's not invincible. It's going to be interesting to see what happens when that speed gap closes for him. I expect him to be just fine because he has played with older players his entire life, but that never tells the story because the gap between every league in the NHL is so high. You can play all the international competitions you want. You can play in college. You can be an underager. You can age advance into junior at 15. It doesn't matter till you get to the show, because when you play with men like this, when you have to play against guys like Tom Wilson, night in and night out, who will absolutely bury you, when you have to play the Florida Panthers, the Tampa Bay Lightning, when the reality is a fourth line NHL player is better than anybody you have played against in junior, things change. I think his skating ability is going to allow him to handle this game. His mindset is going to allow him to handle this game. The only knock people are going to have on this kid is the fact that he has an okay shot. I think his shot is great. He's got a quick release, gets on net. That's all you need it to be. Doesn't have a booming shot from the point, but that isn't his game. So there you have it. That's my opinion on the top 4 players going forward. You guys let me know down below in the comments what you think I got right, what you think I got wrong. This is the easiest time of year to let me know both of those things, because we all really don't know. But I can't wait to hear your opinions, and I'll catch you guys in the next video.